Back in the day, they used to use guillotines to decapitate people, if you can imagine. Stay with me, stay with me. So every weekend would come and, the village would gather, and there's this huge guillotine machine right here that the executioner would swing the axe, cuts the rope, guillotine comes down and chops off the head. Well, one morning, there is an attorney, a doctor, and an engineer all waiting for their day to come to an end, death by guillotine. So first up is the attorney, very arrogant, very proud guy, and the executioner turns to him and he says, blindfold on or blindfold off. He says, blindfold off. He says, head up or head down? He says, head up. So they lock him in the guillotine like this. He's facing everybody in the village. Executioner swings the axe, cuts the rope, guillotine comes down, boom! And he gets stuck 1 inch away from cutting his head off. And the attorney's like, oh, thank goodness. And then he remembered, because he's an attorney, he read the rule book. He says, on page 4, paragraph 2, it says if there's a malfunction in the guillotine that the accused gets to run free. Sure enough, the executioner opens up the rule book and he says, by golly, you're right, off you go. So next up is the doctor. Doctor says the same thing, blindfold off, head up. So they lock him in the guillotine like this. He's facing everybody in the village. Executioner swings the axe, cuts the rope, guillotine comes down, boom! And he gets stuck 1 inch away from cutting his head off again. And the doctor's like, oh, thank goodness, rules are rules. You got to let me go too. So off goes the doctor. Next up is the engineer. Engineer says the same thing, blindfold off, head up. So they lock him in the guillotine like this. Engineer's kind of looking around. The executioner is in his backswing like this. And all of a sudden, the engineer sees something. He says, hey, wait. I think I see the problem. Moral of the story is, don't be an engineer. That's correct. Don't be a know-it-all.